Russia and United States of America kickstart the fight for the dominance over Bitcoin worldwide. Largest leverage liquidation event since 2021. I will tell you exactly how and why it happened. XRP announces the launch of this stablecoin on XRP network, which is huge. They will be able to compete with Ethereum and other networks by having stablecoin. We are also seeing record liquidity inflows in digital assets in November. This is just the start. Goldman Sachs finally speaks up on Bitcoin. You want to hear what they have to say. Several launches out there, and we will also try and we will also respond to $1 million altcoin question at this stage. This is the time to position yourself. The best time was yesterday. Today we will discuss whether or not we are going to see the new low on altcoins chart to make sure you won't get liquidated if you are entering with leverage. This is the time to be positioned, and I will tell you exactly what I did, what type of longs I actually did myself, and what I'm doing in the marketplace currently. Without further ado, let's start. By the way, if you would like to start trading on leverage, and guys, I know you will start trading on leverage. It's just scary currently and nothing is happening, but you have to actually start now. You have to get into some positions now. 2x leverage, 3x leverage. Right now, there's a very, very low chance you will actually get liquidated on things like that, right? I know yourself better than you do. You will eventually start trading when it will be positive, it will be green everywhere, we will have crazy funding rate. It's not the time. The time to get positioned currently. I do think that this thing will be turning into multiple six figures if I won't get liquidated currently on this one. And in order to start, even if you're based in the US, there is a link under each and every video on my channel to Bluefin, non-KYC partner exchange. In the US, you just log in. You don't have to apply like any documents and stuff. You can just trade right away. They have most of the pairs out there. And as mentioned, I am in contact with the top management of this exchange. If you have larger funds and you have some issues, you just send me a message on X and we solve the issue right away with the management of the exchange itself. Russian State Duma Deputy Anton Kachev proposed creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve in Russia, RIA Novosti reports. I ask you to assess the feasibility of creating a strategic reserve of Bitcoin in Russia by analogy with state reserves in traditional currencies. If this initiative is approved, I ask you to submit it to the government of the Russian Federation for further implementation. The appeal says, it's crazy what is happening currently, but what's important is what actually happened right after. Latest news, Pennsylvania proposes allocating 10% of its $7 billion reserve into Bitcoin. 10%. Right after the announcement that came from Russia, we had this announcement from one of the states in the US. One of the large states, I would say. This is just crazy. This is the kickstart of this war, of this FOMO between the countries, between the states out there to actually be buying these assets, Bitcoin. The asset that is limited in the world at this stage. The supply is capped. There is no more Bitcoin supply that could be created. These United States could outpace the Feds in establishing Bitcoin reserves. We had the announcement from Pennsylvania. We had the announcement from Florida as well. Just investing 1% of our pension fund into Bitcoin would be $1.85 billion, says the President Samuel Armas, who also noted the state's budget surplus as another potential funding source. So at this stage, we have the Russia announcement and we have two states announcing the same thing, Pennsylvania and Florida, which is around $2.7 billion of inflows just from the US states, and probably way more from Russia if this would essentially get approved. Anthony Scaramuccia says China will adopt Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset within 1 year. The game theory is playing out. This is also crazy because Russia is seen as Chinese puppet at this stage, and everything that they kind of pushing is just the test of waters out there, right? For what China will eventually be doing. This is very, very important to understand. It's not about Russia currently. It's more about China versus US, and China is just using Russia as a proxy. Let's hear what this guy have to say.
Now that the United States is open to this idea, I think it would be impossible to suggest that other countries are not going to do the same thing. And I'm sitting here today in December of 2024. I'll make a prediction here that by this time next year, the Chinese will be back in the Bitcoin game. They're probably going to add it to their reserve assets, and they're going to probably allow for people to mine it legally. I mean, it's ironic 10% of the mining is still happening in China, despite the fact that Chinese Communist Party has disallowed it, but you're going to see this opening. It's almost like a match sailing race. You're not going to be in a position in the world in developing economies where the US is moving towards Bitcoin and you're not moving towards Bitcoin.
This is very important. This is the bull case scenario for Bitcoin out there. This is the bull case scenario for BTC to reach 700K, 1.5 million in this cycle. I'm telling for more than half a year already. The targets that have been short, they are too low. People are saying 120, 150K is the top. Imagine this happening. Obviously, we have to be careful because this type of news, they're usually being thrown out at the tops when people want to create liquidity. And obviously, when they will be accumulating the assets, they will probably would want to push this asset a bit further down to make sure they will have better prices out there. But this thing is setting up for a crazy blow of top scenario. For crazy blow of top where BTC will just be adding 100K, 100K, 100K in value in a very, very short periods of time. This is just crazy. I do think that a lot of people will underperform Bitcoin this cycle. A lot of people did already, and a lot of people will continue to do this instead of just taking all the money and buying just BTC at the bottoms and just holding. A lot of people will be underperforming this in the current market. Yesterday, we also had largest crypto leverage liquidation event since 2021. It's just the case that I am participating in each and every of these events, and it's very, very interesting that I start to use leverage just before these events are happening. So it's a very, very interesting mind game that is being played by the manipulators, because on average, I would say default market participants, they are not staying in longs, and market makers, they're making sure that before these large liquidation events, the largest amount of people possible, the largest amount of capital possible actually starts to leverage long. If you would assess the sentiment during the weekend, this weekend, it was like crazy alt season and things like that. Right now, everyone is bearish. Right now, everyone is desperate. Right now, everyone is waiting for another low to happen on altcoins. I have a strong belief it won't be happening. And today, closer to the end of this video, I will explain to you exactly. And I will also show $1 million loan that I actually took myself. Wow, $100 million liquidated already. The battle for 100K Bitcoin is intense. 12% range in one day. We just jumped down to $92,000 BTC after hitting $1,400. It's very, very interesting that in this death candle for BTC, altcoins were not touched. Yet they were touched several days later. I would say this was a very, very smart manipulation by the market makers to make sure that they would lure a bit more capital into alts. And me personally, I was actually longing additional altcoins in between this time period, in between this death candle on BTC and recent liquidation event as well. So it definitely played out nicely for them. Breaking in the past 24 hours, 570,000 crypto traders were liquidated, with the total liquidations coming in at 1.72 billion. It's generational, it's historical. I will be telling to my grandchildren that I actually was participating in these liquidation events. I will be proud of them, right? And it's very, very important to understand what actually happened, because when we understand what happened, we essentially experience certain patterns in our heads, and in the future we'd be able to see maybe we are just seeing the same froth, the same thing happening, and maybe we're due a liquidation out there, right? So here's exactly what happened. Coinbase traders started the sell-off, which is very, very interesting. US-based exchange with US-based people. Liquidation cascade triggered the biggest drop. We had crazy funding rates. We had crazy open interest on altcoins. On some of the alts, open interest was 20 times larger than it is currently. Maybe this is something you actually have to think on. Maybe this is something that kind of tells you maybe I should long currently, because open interest is actually 20x lower than it was 2 to 3 days ago, right? The market was overheated. This is something that I just mentioned. Funding fees were spiking, a sign of excessive longs. Open interest was rapidly too many traders peeling in. Then something interesting happened. Strong buying pressure emerged on Ethereum. Ethereum doesn't experience much drawdown compared to BTC. The volume is there too. It's very interesting type of signal out there. It kind of gives you, it's easy from the point of view to understand that, hey, here's Ethereum, probably have to buy it because it actually received a bunch of buying pressure through the previous huge market drop out there, which means that the asset is in demand at this stage. And a lot of people out there, they're actually closing the Bitcoin trade. So they pretty much decided for themselves that the Bitcoin trade for this cycle is over for them, and they're heavily repositioning into Ethereum out there. This is definitely something that is happening and something you have to take a look on. Unusual sell-off in XRP, which probably was a market manipulation. XRP may have a large market cap, but its liquidity is still thin. This is why XRP can surge hundreds of percentage or crash out of nowhere. I do actually think that XRP should be setting up a new local high from here, and we will talk about there just now. And we definitely have certain narrative, we definitely have some news around the fact of why this event should actually be happening. Massive volume in Cardano USDC and FDUSD as well. Cardano massive volume is interesting. I do believe that Cardano to a certain extent will be doing quite well further into the cycle as well, because like currently it's about liquidity inflows, but it's also about how much actually people know the asset. And something that was able to survive through like bear market and was present in the last cycle, and it actually appeared in the previous bear market, not in this one, right? Like it definitely gives a lot of security, it definitely gives a lot of safety for people to throw some money into it, right? And Cardano may be just this like second thing after XRP to have similar type of pump because of the cult leader in Cardano as well. I remember myself watching Charles Hoskinson interviews at the top of the previous cycle, at the top of the Cardano in the previous cycle as well. Here is the crazy narrative of why XRP will actually be reaching new local highs. Ripple stablecoins gains approval from New York's Deputy of Financial Services. This is a huge piece of news because essentially, even at this stage, one of the largest applications of cryptocurrencies in the world are stablecoins. USDT, that's why Justin Sun is a crazy billionaire who's buying taped bananas for $6.5 million and eats them right after, because he actually owns the network where everyone is exchanging stablecoins, USDT. And this thing would actually be able to compete like crazy with the application. Like it's a very, very small part of these products in crypto that really have product market fits. And it definitely would be very, very nice for XRP ecosystem and XRP chain as well, because liquidity is huge, volume is huge as well, and XRP holders, they would definitely love to have this type of option to exchange stable coins in the XRP ecosystem. It also allows for new financial products to be present in the ecosystem, for more transactions in the ecosystem. It definitely will attract a bunch of liquidity, a bunch of volume into the ecosystem and help it grow as well. This is the core thing out there. This just in, we have final approval from New York DFFC for stablecoin on Ripple. Exchange and partner listing will be live soon. And reminder, when Ripple stablecoin is live, you'll hear it from Ripple first. Ripple to launch USD stablecoin that CTO David Schwartz hopes will rival USDT and USDC. So they are entering direct competition with Tether. And Tether right now is by far one of the most profitable companies in the world. Like something like this should have happened, because when something is making just too much profits, it definitely shows market inefficiency. And by presence of stable coins on XRP, by presence of stable coins on XRP, a small part of this inefficiency will be taken as profits by Ripple stablecoins. I do expect more and more chains essentially to start to launch their own stable coins, and it's more about larger companies out there, right? Because like even Ethereum and even things like that, like they don't have their own stable coin. We have something on Blast, right? But we will have it on Ripple, which is top 3 cryptocurrency at this stage. It's crazy. It's crazy potential out there, and they will be taking and they will be definitely taking some profits out of Tether, the company out there. Kind of huge for XRP if you would think, because even the current drop, I said that it should be reaching $3.3 and setting a new high locally, right? Right now, it has a narrative to just continue to surge up higher into the cycle. We also have crazy piece of data that crypto exchange traded products hit a record of 3.85 billion inflows. Crazy. We're seeing crazy demand out there, and you are bearish. How can you be bearish? What is an exchange traded product? Exchange traded product are instruments that track underlying securities and index or other financial products. ETPs traded on exchanges similar to stocks, meaning shares can be purchased and prices can fluctuate throughout a trading day. ETP share prices are derived from the underlying investments that they track, which are essentially BTC and Ethereum and some other crypto assets. Weekly crypto assets inflow in US millions of dollars. Crazy. You can see this chart. You can do a TA on this chart. This chart is showing all-time high at this week. I do think this is just the start of the trend. This is definitely not the top at this stage, because like the whole world-wise, the prices for the asset is still quite low. Flows by asset in millions. We can see weekly inflows, we can see monthly inflows, yearly inflows, and overall assets under management. We can see that weekly inflows are quite substantial, with the inflows per month and per date and the total volume as well. We can definitely see the dynamic increasing. Flows by exchange country. We can also see that US is leading with 126,000 and pretty much 70 to 80% of all the inflows out there. But US leads and other follows 100%. Flows by assets. It's a very, very interesting thing to understand, like where is the buying demand and what this money actually entering, like what type of assets this money are entering, because right now they're entering these assets 100%, but then they will assess that the upside is not there at this stage and they will start to enter different type of assets out there. We can see huge inflows in XRP, Ethereum obviously as well, Bitcoin. Crazy inflows out there at this stage. Pretty much new all-time high for this metric overall. Interesting thing to assess is that we see Solana had negative inflows of $14 million. And you know, I'm bashing Solana from time to time on this channel. I even tweeted something like we will not be seeing Solana at $400 this cycle. But just based on this price action, it might be a very, very interesting time to consider buying some Solana or long leverage some Solana out there. Short term, it was definitely underperforming, and in the bull case of the market, it should catch up at a certain point of time. Although I'm very, very bullish on Ethereum myself at this stage, and mostly I'm positioned in Ethereum and Ethereum better place on the marketplace. Bloomberg says MicroStrategy buys more Bitcoin as funding draws scrutiny, buys 21,550 Bitcoin for 2.1 billion in the past week, first consecutive Monday that the firm announced purchases. The average price for this purchase is $98,783, and MicroStrategy accelerates Bitcoin purchases at this stage, which means that the more time passes by, the more BTC they're actually buying. MicroStrategy accelerates Bitcoin purchases through 2024. It's interesting that at the lows they were not buying that much, and right now they're accelerating. It's very, very interesting. Maybe something shady is happening there, but we'll see. In October 31st filing, the company noted a significant decline in the market value of Bitcoin could have a material adverse effect on our financial condition. Any material adverse effect on our financial condition caused by a significant decline in the market value of our Bitcoin holdings may create liquidity and credit risks for our business operations, as we would have limited means to obtain cash beyond the revenues generated by our enterprise analytics software business. This is a very, very important take, because this is the first time they're actually sharing explicitly to the investors that if the price will drop significantly, we will have some issues. There is a lot of fear on the marketplace about the potential unwind of Bitcoin and MicroStrategy out there, MicroStrategy specifically, the company. And some people are essentially saying that this is the early Luna this cycle, right? But great thing about the things like that is that unwinding and crash, if this would be happening, it will be happening closer to the exact top of the cycle. And following the situation in the previous cycle, the average buying price was $32,000 per BTC, and BTC went as low as $15,000, and MicroStrategy was totally fine. Bloomberg reports, Trump's pick for SEC chair blamed the US for FTX crypto disaster. Paul Atkins has served as an advisor to digital asset firms. Shares view that the US should encourage crypto businesses. It's not even only the US. He specifically blames SEC, which is crazy. This is crazy turn of the events. We had the Operation Choke Point, which was very real since the time Obama essentially came to presidency. Right now, it's unwinding backwards. It's crazy. Like, crypto was being funded and was in the bad regulation setup since the time of its inception. And right now, we're actually at the change of the whole thing. We're at the change of this paradigm. I don't think that people are ready. I don't think that we are ready for the things that are actually coming into this space, for the capital that's coming into this space. This is crazy. The collapse of FTX was this international debacle that happened because I think the US didn't make our rules accommodating to this new technology. Crazy. Goldman Sachs CEO says firm could consider Bitcoin Ether trading if US regulations shift. This piece of news is something we could not even imagine. We cannot even imagine through the whole presence of cryptocurrencies, for the whole presence of Bitcoin on this market. The fact, like Goldman Sachs, they were constantly neglecting BTC. They were ignoring BTC. This statement from them is the green light for smaller funds and for people in the marketplace to actually accumulate. You cannot ever exaggerate the importance of something like this happening. Switching back to more focused crypto and altcoin news out there, Movement Network Foundation announces the token generation event, TGE. Move is important because Sui and Aptos and many of the new layer 1 and layer 2s. Move language is essentially a new development technology that is based on Rust, which is Solana development language. A lot of people are praising Move out there. They're saying that it's like a new generation. It's very, very interesting that they actually did a TGE for the development language out there, which means that currently what you can do, you can actually bet on the success of the development language being adopted, which is crazy if you think about them. It's like EVM essentially making a TGE for EVM type of token. It's almost like a meme coin in a way. Obviously, they would have certain things under them that kind of provides utility, but I was even thinking that maybe the launch of things like this, if this thing would essentially be doing well, despite the fact that FDV is crazy, absolutely crazy at this stage, maybe the launch of something like this can actually spark up meme coin meta that will be created around different technologies on the marketplace, like Solidity meme coin, EVM meme coin. It's a very, very interesting take if you think about that. Move is now live. This is a big step forward for the Movement Network. Earlier today, the Movement Labs team transferred $150 million Move tokens worth $115 million to exchanges. Meanwhile, the Hyperliquid Assistance Fund has now accumulated $150 million worth of HYPE tokens from the open market. Lesson in that. So pretty much what he's sharing is that the way Move launched was just VCs dumping on retail, right? And for example, on the other hand, the launch that HYPE did was essentially HYPE Foundation buying assets from retail and pushing the price of the token when the thing essentially came out on the marketplace. This is the difference, right? And this is why HYPE will probably continue to do quite well. And Move, I would not suggest to buy it at this stage. I would wait until the dumpage will be over, right? Because yeah, the way it's launched, it's just default type of situation out there with just VCs dumping on retail, unfortunately. Microsoft shareholders reject proposal to add Bitcoin to reserves. The main reason for rejection is essentially that Bitcoin is too volatile from that point of view. We also had this post from Michael Saylor parody account, which became viral. It got 1 million views. Breaking: Microsoft shareholders reject the proposal for strategic Bitcoin reserve. In 5 years, they'll understand. Everyone buys Bitcoin at the price they deserve. BTC doesn't wait. It simply transfers wealth to those who see. And the interesting thing is that I think Michael Saylor also mentioned that MicroStrategy valuation will actually surpass Microsoft valuation in upcoming several years as well. Several thoughts on the Solana trade that I mentioned. Solana gets flushed exactly to the 50% of the move as usual. This is the most reliable Solana trading indicator. The market makers will always take back 50% of the moves. A very interesting setup right here, showing that soon there should be a time to actually enter Solana. MicroStrategy is joining the Nasdaq 100 QQQ, backed by the ultimate strategic reserve, Bitcoin. The question isn't if we'll surpass Microsoft market cap, it's how fast. It's also parody, right? But I do think that these are essentially the thoughts of the market sailor. Hyperliquid is receiving crazy on-chain volumes. They actually surpassed on-chain trading leverage volumes of Jupiter already. They had 6.5 billion at this stage. This is a very, very successful product and very, very crazy volumes out there. I can definitely tell you, like, I know some volumes of certain exchanges, centralized exchanges, I think they're still doing more than these numbers, like larger ones, but this is just crazy. The way they launched the whole thing, the way they're pumping the price of the token, like they really came to this market to conquer, not to take part, but to take over, 100%. Perps volume 14.5 billion. Crazy. Hyperliquid, you can see it on the first place right here. And currently we have to discuss something about the situation on Bitcoin at this stage. A lot of people are bearish. A lot of people are essentially thinking that we are going lower. I will share my opinion very, very soon. We are coming to the end of the show at this stage, but it's very, very important to understand on the signals that on-chain data actually gives us out there. BlackRock withdrew over 100,000 BTC to 29 addresses. Here's what it means and what's going to happen with the market. General speculation that is happening with this post is that last time when this was happening, people were speculating that BlackRock was dumping BTC out there. Therefore, the speculation is similar at this stage as well, that this is present and this is happened because they're planning to dump BTC from different wallets and getting the price lower. and kind of connects with the fact that regulation of BTC, it will just be starting to be more positive in the US with the inauguration of Trump and Trump essentially being back in office. And there is this saying and this thought on the marketplace that accumulation between larger funds that actually control billions and billions of dollars should be happening in Q1 of this year, Q1 and Q2. And that's why they would be interested to see the Bitcoin price a bit lower so they can accumulate a bit more. Although I would say they probably won't be able to dump it heavily and like stop the surge up. I do think that the price of BTC in Q1 will definitely be higher than the price of BTC is right now. Strong buy signal. Net taker volume BTC Binance. Net taker volume has dropped below $30 million. This indicator has a high success rate over the last 2 months. I was vocal bearish, but it's important not to ignore potential short-term bounces. This is exactly something that I'm thinking myself as well. And what I wanted to discuss is the current situation in the market. We are seeing that BTC is at $98.4 thousand at this stage. And BTC wise, we are in the bull structure at this stage. But what's important for us is the situation on altcoins. And the situation on altcoins is very, very interesting because all of them are seeing this type of drop, this type of crazy drop. And we are bouncing back currently. This bounce was perfectly fine, definitely something should be happening. We should probably go a bit higher, this bounce wise, right? But the $1 million question at this stage, especially for people that were able to open up longs at the bottoms of this thing, our altcoins are going to have this type of bounce, set this local high, go lower right here, but above this level, so they won't be printing a new low, and go back higher? Or are they doing exactly the same structure, but they're printing the new low right here, and only then they reverse? Technically wise, this structure is way healthier for the reversal, right? But this structure, if this will be happening, we will probably be going to like maybe 85,000 BTC, like high 80s, 100%. If something like this will be happening, and a lot of longs, they will eventually get liquidated. But worst thing from the market maker's point of view, I do believe that a high buy pressure would actually be applied on altcoins specifically at these levels. And that's why something I'm thinking is that it should not be happening. It should not be happening because it's just too good of an entry point for the current market participants to finally enter the alts. And we had desperation in the marketplace yesterday when this liquidation event happened. Even people that were able to loan altcoins before, like in November, in October, and they're still in profit, even they were desperate, despite the fact that they were in profit. And I personally, I felt the emotion of desperation myself yesterday. 100%. I felt it. And this is, to be honest with you, this is the first time I felt this emotion in this cycle. And I was speaking with some people I know, and one guy essentially shared that a couple months ago, he was really desperate on crypto, like pure emotional desperation. It was the exact bottom around these dates. And I just felt this emotion myself. I was feeling it for 2 to 3 hours yesterday, and I just knew this is the time to enter. This is the time to buy. So I bought. What I did, I actually entered $200,000 position on Mavia, which is interesting because yesterday I told you that this is essentially a scam coin out there, right? And technically it doesn't look great currently, like it's just crazy. Like this type of work of the market makers, you can just see and think like they just don't care about the asset. They just don't care about this short anymore. They pumped it 50%, they dumped the whole thing. Yeah, this is just crazy. Yet, following my personal reasons, I essentially entered the loans out there. And on one of them, I'm $9,000 in profits already. This is just something I'm entered yesterday. But obviously, I lost way more money, right? But hopefully, I would be able to hold these longs. And this one is actually has the best entry point. It has the best entry point. It's also the largest position that I entered out there. So something I wanted to show as well. If we would check out something like Mavi on Bybit, 2 days ago, funding rate on this thing was 0.2. Right now, funding rate is 0.01. Funding rate is 20 times lower, which means that there is 20 times leverage loan interest less present on this coin at this stage. Or maybe some people are just shorting it. We definitely have some people shorting it on crypto.com, but this is just a crazy situation out there. I do understand that by entering loans currently, I'm entering them when no one is entering them. And this is the way you're actually making money in this cycle as well. I also do not plan to close them. I have my stop losses and at the break even. I had this thought process that yeah, we'll have this bounce. The bounce on Mavia would probably be around 152, 155 level. This should be like the local high. And then we will have a real $1 million question on altcoins. Are we seeing something like this? Or are we seeing something like this? This is $1 million question out there. If something like this would be happening, this would be like the craziest trap out there, because the largest amount of people will be trapped, and this also would be very, very quick. So like you won't be able to get your entry points right here. Personally, I do think something like this that would be happen because too much people are essentially expecting for us to create a new low. There is too much buy pressure, despite the fact 1.5 billion was just liquidated. This is my overview at this stage. I hope you see what I'm seeing. Yesterday I told you, I said, I think this is a good time to long. I told you this yesterday and I longed myself. I'm in profits currently, but I might get liquidated. I won't suggest to be long in Mavia because it's definitely a very, very high risk asset, and I'm sure 100% like I'm ready to hold it during the time it will not be doing well, because gaming coins, like they definitely take some time to pick up out there. But gaming coins, they are your meme coins for retail. They are your meme coins for default market participants, and that's why essentially like my strategy is very, very risky one. It was very, very risky through the whole cycle. I was losing a bunch of money, and it's very, very risky right now as well. Who would be entering 15x leverage longs yesterday? It's crazy. And I felt it, and I entered them because I felt desperate. I used my emotions to signal the bottom of the market, which kind of, if you can think, it's probably one of the best indicators out there. By the way, if you do want to have options to have $70,000 exposure only using $5,000 into altcoin, if Mavia does 2, 3, 4x's from here, I'm making 70, 140, 210k, right? You have to trade on leverage. This is the time now, not when everything is green out there. In order to trade on leverage, you have this link to Bluffing Exchange under each and every of my video. You have to follow this link. You will be prompted to sign up right here. This is a non-KYC exchange, which means that you can be anonymous here, which means that you can trade out of the US as well. I know the management of this exchange personally. If you will have any issues with this, DM me on X. We are solving any issues you might have. So thank you very much for watching this one. Stay healthy and rich, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.